Hi, Judge Andrew Napolitano here, and you are on Freedom Watch with my guest and longtime friend, Ed Rollins, who directed President Reagan's re-election campaign, was a principal White House advisor to President Reagan, and is today, he doesn't want me to say this, the dean of Republican political strategy.
Well, thank you. It's
pleasure to be with you. Full disclosure to our audience, you and I have been friends for more years than we'd like to say.
With a good life in between.
Yes, absolutely.
What a fascinating time we live in, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It is. What I want to talk to you about is a little bit of a delicate subject because of your deep roots in and profound understanding of the Republican Party. Will a time come when the personality quirks and self-destructive manifestations of Donald Trump, the person, will cause Republican office holders, fearing for their own longevity in office, to flee from him?
I think there's going to be a tough midterm. I don't know whether they're going to lose the House, but we could. And we certainly don't necessarily make gains in the Senate, where we should be making lots of gains because of the seats that are up. If that occurs, then I think to a certain extent the establishment of Republicans will put more distance. Are you going to get the grassroots, the Trump supporters to break away? I don't know. At this point in time, they're still very much in the Trump camp, but it's a matter of is their lives better at the end of 4 years?
Is that camp a personality cult? It's not an ideological camp.
No, there's no ideological. It's part of it is what is Trump ideologically? I mean, he was a Democrat. He's an independent. He basically has been all over the place.
Maybe he's a pragmatist. He's not a conservative.
He's not a conservative, but he did capture that Republican agenda and ran with it, the tax cuts and what have you. Obviously, every Republican talked about tax cuts, but to a certain extent, you got to give him credit. And I think the strong national defense is obviously was never something he advocated before. But those are the only two things we have at this point in time.
But if the tariffs cause everything from a can of beer to a kitchen blender to a dishwasher to a car to cost more, could he lose his blue-collar base? And add to that the farmers who can't sell soybeans to China anymore.
Well, part of the problem is he can't explain anything. Either he steps on his own story, and these are complicated. When you're going to make a trade policy change and the farmers lose or someone else loses, you got to explain why you're doing that and what the long-term ramifications are. And as you say, he promised he was going to create jobs. Are there going to be more jobs? The stock market obviously is something that most people don't benefit either way, up or down. But the ordinary person wants more money in their paycheck, and we're certainly not going to see that for a period of time.
Every time he has campaigned in a special election for the Senate, I think of Alabama. For the House, I think of that almost like a burnt-over district, the one in western Pennsylvania. His candidate has lost. Well, do Republicans running for re-election, or even newbies in open seats, want him campaigning for them?
Some will, some won't. The reality is I think most of them have to argue for his successful perspective. They have to argue that they're for the tax cuts, they're still for a restructuring of Obamacare, and maybe the immigration policy they have to be supportive of. But do you want him to come in and totally dominate your campaign? That's the critical question. A president can raise money. A president can basically get a couple days of domination and move numbers a little bit, but it always goes right back once Air Force One leaves. So do you want to make this a campaign about Donald Trump like it was 2 years ago, or do you want to make it about the individual members of Congress and the senators who run? Senators definitely are not going to base it.
What is the establishment's attitude about him? And I'm thinking of the Bush family.
Oh, they're gone. They're basically not. They have nothing but bitterness towards him. And I think the reality is, the moment he stumbles, which he may not for a period of time, then a lot of them will move away from him. But certainly he did not clean up Washington, and the Washington establishment is certainly not for him.
Is the establishment counting on Bob Mueller to get Donald Trump out of the White House?
I think they're hopeful that something moves him aside. He's not easy to cooperate with, and I think at the end of the day, he doesn't understand politics. It's hard to say to a man who won the presidency that he doesn't understand politics. He doesn't understand their politics. His going into Montana to campaign against Manchin. Tester, I'm sorry, Manchin's the other one, may make him reelected. Montanans are kind of, it's a mixed state. You're not automatically going to vote. I ran a very popular President Ronald Reagan around the country. With one or two exceptions, we didn't knock anybody out. We basically helped the party somewhat. But my sense is today, you want to make a campaign about you, or you want to make a campaign about the president. He'll want to make it about him, and that can be a losing strategy.
Do you agree with me that the president is in as much or maybe more danger from the prosecution of his lawyer here in New York City as he is from the investigation of Bob Mueller in Washington?
I think very much so. I think, I don't like special prosecutors, and I think the reality...
I'm with you on that,
and I think
but we have this.
We have one, and Mueller has a first-rate team. No matter how many people want to diminish it, that they have contributed to Hillary or what have you. These are the best of the best in the Justice Department. And as you know, that's an all-star group of people. So my sense is they've crossed every T, dotted every I, and when they come forth with the report, not knowing what's going to be in it, it's going to be very, very well done. But I do think coming back here, getting his lawyer, Cohen, the stuff that may have happened before could be far more dangerous. And Cohen certainly is potentially a guy that can flip.
You're still filled with wisdom. It's always a pleasure, Ed. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. From New York, defending freedom whenever they let me, Judge Andrew Napolitano. See you next time, America.